Hello everybody and welcome to another StarCraft 2 Supremacy Guide video. In this replay, we'll be going over how to 2-base Hydra against a Protoss opponent. Let's go ahead and get started, and as always do note the production tab in the top left and the timing in the bottom right so we can know what's being built and when. This strategy is very good against a Protoss who will go for a Stargate build and try to harass us with Void Rays and Phoenixes. And it's also very good against a Protoss who is going for a heavy gateway build because Hydras do a lot of damage to gateway units. However, when it does start to get a little bit less effective is when our opponent is running on more than 2 bases, because 3 or even 4 base Protoss is very strong in the fact that he can get out high-tech units very easily, such as Colossi, which will destroy Hydralists very quickly. So we want to be able to take advantage of that timing window where Hydras are going to be most effective, which is going to be around the 10-minute mark in most cases. Now, for the beginning of the strategy, we're actually going to throw down a spawning pool at 10, and this can be varied a little bit. Now the reason we are doing this is to get a little bit of early aggression off on our opponent and kind of keep him on his toes. We don't necessarily have to do this. We could open more standardly with a 15 extractor, 14 pool, and then follow that up with a hatchery around 21. However, this strategy is kind of nice because we can see what our opponent is doing early on in the game with our Zerglings, but we can also try to get a little bit of damage done as well. Now we will be throwing up our pool pretty soon here. Looks like our opponent is just now scouting this, and he definitely should notice that something is up. And after we do make these 6 Zerglings, we should be focused on purely drones. Our opponent's going to feel rushed to try to block off his base, so he is going to use a Chrono Boost. So this helps us level out the amount of drones that we sacrifice by having him spend Chrono Boost on his gateway instead of on his Nexus for probes. And we can notice that we're actually catching up a little bit, even though we did go for that 10 pool. And we're going to send our Zerglings right over. In the meantime, focus on drones here and make sure that when your queen pops, you are making drones and injecting larvae right away. We are throwing down our hatchery now at just about 20, and we will be able to do a little bit of harassment in the meantime. If we can get in the base of our opponent, that would be great, because we can stay in there and scout for a long time, but don't try to force it. If our opponent is going to be killing off Zerglings, then just go for the gateway, and once this Stalker or maybe a Sentry comes out, just back off and don't lose Zerglings when you don't have to, because having these alive throughout the game is going to be important to be able to scout. Now it looks like our opponent is delaying throwing down any more types of tech buildings, and we want to be a little bit suspicious about that because normally he would have thrown down gateways by this time. So we want to try to scout what he is doing by sending another Overlord over here. Sacrificing another would be just fine, especially once we get tier 2, which we just now started around about 25. It's about 5 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. Once we get tier 2, we can make an Overseer if we choose to do so, and be able to scout more easily, and that way better react to what our opponent is doing. But notice we have just been focusing on drones thus far in the game after we had made these initial Zerglings. If we were to scout up and see that he is making a significant amount of units, and we know that he is coming for even a 4-gate push, because at this time it's too late for him to go for a 3-gate expansion. He hasn't thrown down a pylon down here. We haven't seen any sentries. So if we did see a 4-gate push coming in, we should probably throw down some spine crawlers and maybe even throw down a roach warren if we can't get our Hydras up in time. But we have teched. We do have 2 gases now, and we will be throwing down our Hydra den as soon as possible. We're now saturating our expansion as well, and everything's looking pretty good. In the meantime, our opponent did choose to go for a Stargate build. He's going for Phoenixes and Void Rays. Now what the Phoenixes will serve as their main purpose is to lift off Queens or other anti-air units, while the Void Rays can do their damage. Now this is one reason why having an Overlord in various places, but especially this part of the map when it is on Salnagar Caverns, is so that we'll be ready and we'll know that our opponent is coming with this sort of aggression. Now if you see a Void Ray and a Phoenix, we do not want to engage with just a Queen, because he will be able to lift us off with the Graviton Beam and be able to deal away with our Queen very early. And notice he's going straight for the Overlords, which is the very smart thing to do. We are now supply blocked, but once our Hydras are out, we will be able to deal with this quite easily. Even just about 3 Hydras would be able to deal with this force. Now knowing that he is in fact on 2 starports just by how many Void Rays and Phoenixes he was able to get out in that short amount of time, it lets us know he had 2 Stargates, and therefore we are going to be aggressing right after this, and we're going to be backing this up with more Hydras and Lings. And make sure that you do get the grooved spine upgrades, which will be essential in giving us a lot more range and having our Hydras very effective. Going straight for that Void Ray, and then for the Phoenixes. Now these are the units that will probably do the most damage, because they can instantly lift off one of our units and make it ineffective in an instant. Now at this point our opponent is going to be panicking to throw down some more gateways to try to deal with this. You can see he can't really spend his resources that well because of the build he went for. And in the meantime we have been spreading creep and injecting larvae and getting out units. Now notice with just those 6 Hydras and 2 Lings, we were able to take out everything that was in our opponent's base. Make sure you keep on your injects and keep on macroing. And obviously our opponent wasn't expecting us to already come back with even more waves of Zerglings and Hydralisks. And at this point in the game, getting Metabolic Boost is a good idea. We can see that we're doing that right now. Earlier on though, it wasn't very necessary, as Zerglings weren't going to be our main unit of aggression. And now our opponent is going to have to be pulling probes off the line and sacrificing many. Now if we can just look at the unit count, we only have a couple of Zerglings and 4 Hydralisks. He had about 7 or 8 Stalkers. And we still are able to plow through everything because Hydralisks do so much damage, as we can see here. And we just kept pumping units and kept our rally into his base. And eventually he will call a good game. So hopefully you all can incorporate this into your play and improve your win rate. This is StarCraft 2 Supremacy Guide Videos signing out.